The real-world context that inspired my game relates to Britain and its possible future trade agreements. The outcome of a no-deal Brexit is becoming increasingly more likely, especially when considering the recent defeat of Theresa May's Brexit deal. Assuming this no deal occurs, the EU will be forced to impose a tariff on British exports, and in response, Britain will impose a tariff on EU goods. Whilst Britain will still benefit from the most favoured nation status, the tariff will still severely impact both the attractiveness of British exports and increase the cost of imports. The welfare loss of areas 2 and 4 in the diagram highlight the negative effects on the economy when Britain imposes a tariff on EU goods. Furthermore, when considering 44% of British exports and 53% of imports are currently to EU countries, this issue is of critical importance as the welfare loss depicted is likely to be sizable. In this video, I will assess the case for the potential future of Britain joining the North America Free Trade Agreement, or NAFTA, by using a market entry game. Currently, this is a trilateral agreement of free trade between the USA, Canada, and Mexico. Considering the USA as one of Britain's largest trading partners, joining could be a beneficial avenue to go down. If NAFTA would open the doors to Britain, it has to be expected that they are willing to expand this agreement further. We're going to assume that there are 3 additional nations, Brazil, Argentina, and Paraguay, all hoping to join NAFTA as well. These 3 nations do a significant amount of trade with NAFTA nations and are in a geographically favourable location. As such, they seem perfect candidates to want to join the alliance. Before we discuss the implications of this scenario to Britain, it's important to explain the market entry game we're using. This is a one-shot game with 2 possible outcomes, either stay out or enter, and decisions made in this particular game are simultaneous and independent, so players make their selection based off their own judgment of the market. In our case, the number of nations looking to join, N, is 4, the market capacity, C, is a pre-announced value, which is 3, and in order to prevent excess entry, if all 4 nations decide to join, the countries in NAFTA vote on which 3 to accept. If the nation opts to stay out of the agreement, their payoff is a predetermined fixed value, K. If they decide to enter, their payoff depends on the number of other entrants in the market. This payoff function is linearly decreasing with the number of entrants. The payoff for each nation looking to enter the agreement can be defined as K plus R times K, brackets C minus E, close brackets, minus X, where R is the market premium, reflecting how difficult it is to join the trade alliance, E is the number of new entrants into the market, and X is the cost associated with joining the agreement. For example, the cost of altering process to fit with NAFTA regulations. If we assume R to be 1.2, K to be 100 billion, and X to be 10 billion, we can evaluate in which scenarios Britain should join the trade alliance. If E is 1, Britain's resulting payoff is 330 billion. If E is 2, the payoff falls to 210 billion. This is still significantly larger than the payoff without an alliance. However, if a third nation decides to join as well, then the resulting payoff would only be 90 billion. This is less than the 100 billion Britain would receive from trade without joining this alliance. Due to the maximum capacity being 3, there is no situation where all 4 nations can join. The analysis suggests that joining NAFTA would only be advantageous to Britain if E, the number of nations attempting to join the agreement, is less than the market capacity of 3. Therefore, return on entry exceeds the return of staying out if, and only if, the situation where C is greater than E and, due to the cost associated with joining, R times K, brackets C minus E, close brackets, is greater than X. Despite this analysis, it's also important to assess what this game has taught us and evaluate the lessons learnt from it. The first lesson is that Britain needs to know how many other nations are actually looking to join NAFTA and what the market capacity is. Whilst we have discussed 4 nations and a capacity of 3, there may actually be significantly more. This trade agreement is with large wealthy nations and so would likely attract more nations from around the globe, and as the payoff function is decreasing depending on the number of new entrants, this becomes a significantly important issue. The second lesson is that Britain needs to know the actual figures in the payoff function. The endowment K and the cost of conforming to NAFTA's regulation X need to be known. If these figures are unknown estimates, there is likely to be information failure, limiting the effectiveness of the analysis of the game. The third lesson is that Britain needs to assess NAFTA's future fully before considering joining. Owing to recent events, the NAFTA agreement may be changing in July of this year. A new agreement, USMCA, has been discussed and is waiting to be accepted. If it is, the agreement is unlikely to expand to include any more nations, and as such, Britain or any other nations would not be permitted to join, rendering this analysis pointless. Thank you for watching the video.